Buongiorno a tutti. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gabriella Maletti, and I'm the Director of Special Programs at the National Italian American Foundation. Thank you so much for joining us today. Just a quick note before we get started. Please note that all attendees are muted and have their videos and chats turned off. During this webinar, only the panelists will be visible. At the end of the presentation, Antonello will be taking some of your questions, so please use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. And lastly, we are recording this session, so we'll send you a recording within the next 2 business days. And now I'd like to welcome NIAF board member, Anthony DiSandro. Anthony.
Thank you, Gabriella. Good afternoon. My name is Anthony DiSandro, and I'm so honored to present to you the Living La Dolce Vita, How to Buy a House in Italy with Antonello Pierro, a virtual event brought to you by the National Italian American Foundation. NIAF is a membership-based, nonpartisan, and nonprofit organization founded in 1975. NIAF's mission is to preserve the Italian American heritage and culture, promote and inspire a positive image and legacy of Italian Americans, and strengthen and empower ties between the United States and Italy. NIAF is based in Washington, D.C., so we are so excited to host virtual events because now we can share information and engage with Italian Americans from all over like never before. All of our past and future webinars can be found on our website, www.niaf.org. Unfortunately, as a result of the pandemic, NIAF's traditional source of revenue is on pause. So we thank you for joining us today and supporting our mission. And with that, I'd like to introduce you to property buying expert and fellow attorney, Antonello Pierro, founder of Pierro Associates. Antonello will be presenting today's webinar. Pierro Associates is an international Italian law firm with offices in Rome, Milan, and with specialists in Los Angeles, California. They have expertise in a wide variety of practice areas and provides its clients with comprehensive and integrated legal advice and representation, both to individuals and companies that seek to invest in Italy. Antonello is an Italian practicing attorney with over 2 decades of experience. He was admitted to the Italian State Bar in 1990 and the California State Bar as a foreign legal consultant in 2019. He represents American clients, both individuals and companies, who acquire businesses and real estate in Italy. He holds many memberships in American legal associations, including the California Lawyers Association, the National Italian American Bar Association, and the Italian American Chamber of Commerce West. And without further ado, I'd like to welcome Antonello Pierro. Ciao, Antonello. Thank you for joining us from Rome.
Hi. Hi, Anthony. Hi, Anthony. Thank you very much for the introduction. And hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. For those who doesn't know me, as Anthony said, my name is Antonello Pierro. I'm an Italian attorney based right now in Rome, and our firm has a operation in Rome, Milan, and we represented clients in the last 20 years in Italy for many different type of transaction and litigation as well. Our main practice area are corporate law, real estate, cross-border transactions, and as well we represent clients before Italian courts here in Italy, included the Supreme Court. So thanks to host this event and to talk about this hot topic, how to buy property in Italy.
And Antonello, you know, as this is a really exciting webinar, as Italian Americans here in the U.S., you know, we've all dreamed about acquiring a beautiful piece of property in Italy and moving to the country of our ancestors. So I know a lot of people are excited. So how do you begin the process? What do you recommend if people are interested in looking at a property in Italy?
So first of all, let me tell that the purchase process to buy a property in Italy is very different compared to what happens in the States. The first thing I would like to share with everyone is that fortunately, if foreign people want to buy a property in Italy, there is not any requirements. So if you are foreign, you can buy property in Italy. You don't need to be Italian citizen. And the only things required is to get the codice fiscale, which is a kind of tax identification number which you have in the States, and it's quite easy to get it because you can get this from Italian consulates in the United States, or you can go directly here in Italy and apply in the Italian tax office in the main cities here in Italy.
And can you do that as an individual and as setting up a company, either way?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. You can buy as an individual, and you can set up a company. In this case, you can be the shareholder, the major shareholder of the company, and the company will own the property. Yes.
Interesting. Very similar. In the U.S., when we want to buy property, we usually, look to engage a real estate agent in order to buy the property. Is that similar in Italy? And if so, what does the real estate agent do, and how do they play in the process?
Yeah, this is very, very, very important question because, so as said before, there are different rules and different role played by the real estate agent in Italy. So before to commit to the process, it's very important to know exactly what to expect by the realtor, what kind of service they would be providing to you. So I would say that real estate agent is not a requirement according to Italian law. And in addition, we don't have here the database that you have in the United States called the multiple listing service, where is the best source of the information relating the property on sale. So here, everyone has its own package of property on sale. And in many cases, you can find properties on sale listed directly by the seller. So I would suggest, if someone is interested, just to take a look. Some areas, Sicily, Amalfi Coast, Roma, Milano. If they would go in the three main websites called immobiliare.it, maybe later I can text in the message. Okay. Immobiliare.it, casa.it, and idealista.it. This is the main website where everybody puts the listing. And here you can find property listed by real estate agency, and you can find property listed by the individuals. I think this is the first information just to answer how will I begin the process. So after to be aware about this difference, I think it's very important to be aware that the real estate agent in Italy, according to the Italian law, is in the middle of the transaction. He can't and he doesn't represent the buyer or the seller, and he shouldn't have any commitment or duties or representation towards to both parties. So in the States, as everybody knows, when you want to buy property, the buyer goes to the realtor, and the realtor will have to find the listing, to visit the property, make some inspection, and help the negotiation. In Italy, unfortunately, because the position that should be neutral and independent of the realtor, nobody helps the buyer, and that's why it's very important to be aware before to start the process that the realtor is I don't want to say that he's not a good guy. He's a good person, he's professional, but his role, his primary obligation is to link the parties and put together to make a deal. But then everybody is responsible for his behavior, what he's doing, what he's checking, and even in case signing an offer, the realtor has not any liability or responsibility. And according to Italian law, the broker, the real estate agent, is entitled to charge to both parties at least 3%.
Okay.
So if there is no specific agreement signed, he would charge 3% to both parties. So in total will be 6%, as happens, as I know in the United States. And this is so it's very important. But there is another point that should be noted, that the realtor, in the most of the cases, is chosen by the seller, because the seller chooses the realtor, and the realtor take care about advertising, the visit of the property. So in the reality, the real estate agent keep during all the process of negotiation and even the preliminary process a very straight connection with the seller. So it can't be neutral and is never independent. So this is the main picture, the framework of the matter.
Yeah, and that's very interesting, because that's different than in the United States, as you pointed out, where you'll have a buyer real estate agent and a seller real estate agent. So based on that, is it, I would assume, as a buyer, you would want to hire someone like yourself, an attorney, to help with the purchasing process. What's the legal process if you identify a property and now you would like to negotiate the purchase?
So first of all, we have to tell that even the process how to transfer the property in Italy is completely different compared to what happened in the States. We don't have the escrow service companies, which I personally believe that in the States they have the very important function to guarantee the transaction and to protect the interest of the both parties, seller and buyer. We don't have these entities, these functions, and all the entire process is conducted and handled by the responsibility by the seller and the buyer. And let's suppose that we found the property which we like, and we decide to make an offer. So there are 3 or 4 kind of checks that need to be made before to sign an offer, and these are check who is the legal owner of the property, how the owner of the property acquired the property. So I mean,
the title, the ownership.
He received because he bought a property, or was a trust, because now we have a trust contract even in Italy, and then the most important things, which very often can bring a surprise to the buyer, check if there are legal case court property or against the owner. Because if there is a dispute relating to the property, you don't want to be involved in a negotiation and maybe buy something which later someone will create problems, give critical issues. So we'll tell that he's the owner of the property. So to make this
you froze for a second. Maybe repeat that little process regarding the search and the title, with the owner, the last couple of minutes.
Yeah. So I said the third checks would be to assess if there is a legal pending case against the property or against the owner of the property relating this property. So you don't want to be, you don't want to have a surprise later that you made an offer, and after you made a binding offer, maybe you will discover that there is a litigation relating who owns this property. To make this kind of assessment and checks, it's quite easy. It's not so difficult like could appear. An attorney or an architect can access to the real estate public record and checks all this kind of information. And this will be the preliminary assessment, which I believe is very important before to start negotiation or even to sign a not binding offer. Then the other kind of checks, which I will suggest, and I think is very important, is the technical inspection. If we're talking about a unit in a condo, wouldn't be any problem. Most of the 99% of the case, there are not any critical issues. The surprise comes when it's entire buildings, when it's an ancient villa in Tuscany, or I don't know, in Amalfi Coast or in Sicily, or if you buy even an old building in the historical center of all the city. And in this case, could be very helpful in a quick assessment by the architects. The Italian architects, they knows where to check. They knows where to put the eyes. They knows where to put the hands. And it would be modest, not very expensive, would be something very, very affordable, but would be very, very important to do this before to sign the offer. And there is another, sorry.
No, go ahead, Antonello, please.
There is another interesting thing that I guess there is not in the States, that because Italy is very old country, we have in many cities, many historical asset buildings. We have an authority called the supervisory authority for all the ancient buildings, which sometimes put some restriction and limit in order to make renovation, to move a wall inside of an apartment, or to rebuild a villa or individual house or building. So another checking that should be made if we are going to buy an historical place. Historical, it would mean even a villa built 150 years ago, not necessarily 500 years ago. So to check if there is any restriction, because if you are buying and planning to destroy the building and rebuild the property, probably you can do that. Or you want to move the bathroom, you want to make another kitchen, you cannot move the wall unless you don't get a permit by these authorities. And these authorities is very bureaucratic authority and will slow down all the process.
So that's very interesting. Now you touched on some red flags. Or anything else? Any other red flags or things to avoid during the process that, in your experience, have you seen?
So in general, I would say that I will never sign an offer. Doesn't matter if you are Italian, you are foreign. I will never sign an offer before make this due diligence and to be sure that there is not any problems, any critical issues about the property. And sometimes, especially when we deal with the realtor, because the realtor is in the middle and he has an interest that you sign the offer, because then he will be entitled to charge the commission fee. All the times they create a lot of pressure to sign the offer to buy the purchase offer. So they suggest is never be in the rush. Take a look at the documents, take a look, make the inspection, ask the help an architect or the lawyer, because spending a little money in the beginning will save a lot of money later. This is the suggestion I would give to if you are going to buy property in Italy.
Yeah, that's great advice, especially if you're in the U.S. and you're unfamiliar with some of the rules in Italy. But we talked about some of the negatives. What are the benefits or incentives to purchase a property in Italy according to Italian law?
So there are a few benefits, I think. First of all, to be in Italy, it's not bad. It's not bad.
That's number one.
No, I'm joking. Sorry for the joke, but so there are benefits regarding, for example, if you want to establish the residency and especially at the COVID-19 time, there are a lot of people who want to spend the quarantine or spend this time, 6 months, 1 year in Italy and making the smart working. You want to establish the residency, but you are not Italian, you don't have a dual Italian citizenship, and you are not entitled to stay here for more than 3 months. If you buy a property, you will have the right to establish the residency. Of course, there is an application visa to file, but you will be entitled to get the visa called residenza elettiva. And you can stay here permanently. You just need to show to the government that you own the property and you have enough income to survive. The only restriction is that you can't work as an employee in Italy. So you have to commit to not work as an employee. So it be supposed that you have a work business in the States or you are retired and you making business, smart working, for example, with an American company, and you receive the salary from them, from outside Italy.
Interesting, interesting. And you talked about this too. So and maybe touch on this too, because a lot of people, and you just discussed it. If you own property, is that a way to become a citizen and establish residency? And I know you just touched on that a little bit, but I know a lot of people look into that, and that's important, having a residency in Italy as well.
So to become a citizen, you have to have the residency here for 10 years. So after 10 years, you can apply for the Italian citizenship. Unless, like most of the audience, I guess you have Italian heritage. Yeah. There is some special rules that if you live 5 years and you have Italian heritage, you can apply after 5 years. Okay. Live of residence in Italy. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. What about taxes? You know, will you have to pay taxes on the property once it's acquired? And how are the taxes, dealt with in Italy when you own property?
So when you buy property, basically there is the tax property that you have to pay every year. This tax property, it's very modest tax because it's in the range between 0.5 and 1% of the value of the property assessed by the Italian tax agency. This value is a kind of conventional value, so it's always 99% of the times is much less than the price you paid. So it's very modest tax. Yeah. And in addition, there is the purchase tax, which is calculated on the 9% of the value of the property, still based on the value assessed by the Italian tax agency. So it's 9% of, for example, we assume that you pay $200,000 the property, the 9% would be based on 80,000. So usually it's a little bit less than 50%. But there is a benefit, coming back to your previous question about the residency. In case you would establish the residency inside the property, you wouldn't pay the every year tax property, so the tax between 0.5 and 1%, and you would pay the purchase tax, so just one time when you purchase the property, only 3% and not 9%. So there is huge benefit in terms of taxation if you establish the residency in the property.
Mm. Okay, and my final question here, and we've been hearing about this in the U.S., as you know, so many campaigns from small towns, from foreigners to purchase property for $1, right? So, I have $1 right here. Are these real? Tell us about this. I know this is something that's people in the U.S. Have dreamed about, and what's that process like? And we've heard some of that in the media, but I know a lot of people would like to hear that.
Yeah, yeah. So as advertised in many campaigns, there is a really in Italy, so it's true, there is in Italy a program to sell some property at €1. These property are owned by private individuals and not by the city or by the municipal, like I heard in some advertising, some internet advertise. And the city halls, they are just trying to facilitate, the city hall of small cities in south of Italy, they are trying to facilitate the sales. Because in most of the cases, we are talking about very old, destroyed, abandoned properties which need complete renovation, in most of the cases complete construction. So it will be very expensive in terms of construction. You have to hire an architect to make the new building project and then to supervise or to make supervision of the works. And I think it wouldn't be very easy like that, like it appears. And probably at the end of the month, at the conclusion of the process, you would spend much more than if you bought a property already renovated maybe in the area which you like. So this is the reality. And there are a list of the city halls. They every period they make a kind of not public tender. They make a public announcement about all the listings they will sell for €1. But in most of the cases, so it's very, very old and properties, and needs very expensive costs to remodel, to renovate.
Very interesting, and thanks for that feedback. That makes sense. And you know, I have so many more questions, but I really want to open it up to the floor. I know we have a lot of questions from the audience. And again, if you want to answer a question, use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. I'm going to turn it over to Gabriella. Gabriella, I'm sure we've gotten some amazing questions from what Antonello has provided so far.
Yes, we have. And Antonello, thank you so much for your very informative presentation. I am hearing a little bit of an echo. Antonello, can you mute your mic really quick? There we go. Okay. So Antonello, the very first, one of the questions I did receive, we're getting so many. Thank you so much for submitting the questions. We're trying to, my team and I are trying to get through all of them. Unfortunately, we won't get through all of them, but I do want to say just up top that Antonello mentioned 3 websites for you to all check out when you are looking for a property in Italy. We will include those 3 websites in our follow-up email. Excellent. When we send the recording. So just to reiterate them, it's immobiliari.it, casa.it, and idealista.it. So we will put those out on our email for the viewer in the next couple of days. It'll probably be within the next 2 days when we send out the recording. Antonello, a lot of our audience members are Italian citizens. So are there any tax benefits for these Italian citizens when buying a property in Italy? Or is it as if, you know, does the rule apply to everyone, whether they're a citizen or
not? So if we are talking about the tax benefit just regarding the property, to purchase property, to own the property, it will be some benefit. Like I said before, if you establish the residency in that property, we call the benefit of a prima casa, benefit of a first property, but you need to establish the residence inside. But we're talking about the taxation about the property. If the question is relating the whole taxation, if an Italian American who has a double citizenship, even I'm not a tax expert, but I know the basic principle about Italian and about American taxes. I know that the United States has the worldwide taxation. So even if the Americans would move to Italy, they will continue to pay at least the federal tax, unless they don't renounce the American citizenship. So I'm not sure which was the question, but I think I tried to answer to both meaning.
Yes, thank you. And then
sorry.
also another attendee asked, of the 5 years required to live in Italy prior to applying for citizenship, how much of that time are you required to actually be in Italy living?
So when we talk about the continuing residency, should be real residency. Of course, doesn't mean that you must stay in Italy. You can do back and forth, but you have to have the center of your life, center of your business, center of your, the family, people. Also, most of all, in other words, you should spend a relevant time in Italy, not just 1 month every year. You should at least, I would say, like the tax law requires, 1 day more than 6 months. At least 1 day more than 6 months.
Okay, great.
But
thank you.
Furthermore, I would like to add that once you establish a residency, you register in the commune, in the city hall. Nobody come to check every day, every month. So it's supposed to be here, to be there, and you can travel, not necessarily in the States. You can be resident in Italy and have the center of, so the main domicile of your life is in Italy, but you can travel in the States, in China, in Japan, in Europe, wherever you like. So it's not a very strict requirements.
Although it would be pretty easy to spend 6 months and then 1 more day in Italy if you had to, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't mind spending 6 months or 12 months in Italy out of the year. So also, I wanted to go back to the very first point you made about the codice fiscale. Is this required also to Italian dual citizens? Do they automatically have that? What does that look like? Is it something that everyone needs to get regardless of their citizenship?
You need codice fiscale for any type of transaction in Italy. If you want to buy property, if you want to rent a property, if you want to open a banking account, if you want to be registered in the healthcare service, which you are entitled once you get the residency. But this is another very important thing. So once you get the residency here, you have the right to receive the healthcare services by the Italian government, a unique codice fiscale. About the dual citizenship, I'm not sure in which stage of the application you have to get this in the consulate, but in the consulate they provide the codice fiscale easily. So now I'm not aware about the application of dual citizenship, if you have to do it in the beginning, or they just, when they will give the passport, they will provide you also the codice fiscale. I'm sorry to not be able to be answered in details about these questions.
Thank you, Antonello. Our friend Lauren, ciao Lauren, asked, what can folks expect if they seek financing from an Italian bank for their purchase? Is financing available to non-citizens?
Yeah, this is very, very good question, because all the times I get these questions, and unfortunately, theoretically, there are some programs for the loan for the foreign people, but the Italian banks, they make very difficult to give a loan to the foreign people who doesn't have income in Italy, because the Italian banks, they want to see that you have income here in Italy, and you have the capability to give back the loan every month. So even if you have the bank, the mortgage, as a guarantee, as us guarantee the property, but then the bank won't be sure that you have the possibility to pay every month. If they don't have income, if you don't have income in Italy, coming, for example, a salary every month, wouldn't be easy to get the loan, the finance by Italian bank for the not Italian citizen.
Okay, thank you, Antonello. And speaking on those costs, what is the typical cost of an attorney, the inspection, the permit, etc.? And what's the typical timeline from accepted offer to closing? This question is coming in from Ray Urchi. And are mortgages easy to obtain for Americans, and what are the interest rates like? So if you want, we can take the first part of the question. What's the typical cost of attorney, inspection, and permits?
So usually when you hire an attorney for this type of transaction, usually the attorney would represent and assist you since the beginning, and usually we apply, all the attorneys for this kind of transaction apply the flat rate, and they don't charge hourly. But if the buyer intend to make just a preliminary inspection regarding the property, the title, and all this kind of issues, could be a couple of hours, 3 hours of the worked hours, at the rate of, the average rate here in Italy is between 300 and 400 euro. So we're talking about, for just the preliminary assessment, 800 euro, 1000 euro. But I guess it would be more convenient if the client, the buyer, could make an agreement with the attorney, and the attorney can make further assessment for more than one property and represent the client for all the process, taking care of the client till the final closing. And this case will be a flat rate. I cannot now give an example because it depends from how much is big the transaction, how much should work on the assessments. Is it a building? Is it a villa? Is it a condo? But let's say between 3,000 and 5,000 euro, in the range between 3,000 and 5,000 euro for the entire process. But Gabriella, if you let me add at this regard, one very important thing, relating all the process, because the buyer has no protection. Sometimes to invest a little money in an attorney would help to negotiate a lot of money in terms of real estate, commission fee, negotiation of the price, and taxation. And putting all these three things together would be much more, the money saved would be much more than the fee of an attorney.
Wow, that's really great to know. So to add to that, so what is the typical timeline from the time that the offer is accepted to closing? How long does it take typically?
If the client is going to pay in cash and has the money ready to buy, and the title is clean, can be even 1 month. So you make an offer, you submit the offer, and you want to receive the answer in 15 days, and in another 20 days you go to the final closing in front of the notary. Notaio. In Italian is not, notaio is not the public notary. Yeah.
That's a quick process.
Very quick, considering how sometimes slow some Italian business transactions can actually take.
Yeah. But this is only because the buyer has the money ready. Right. In many cases in Italy here, for example, the Italian people apply for the loan, and the banks slows down the process, and you need to wait 3, 4, 6, even 6 months.
And to that point, are mortgages easy to obtain for Americans, and what's the interest rate looking like?
For Americans in Italy?
Yes.
As I said before, for Americans as a foreign, the Italian bank, so they don't see in favor, so they don't even if they have some special program for the foreign people, they're not very open to give the loan unless you don't show that you have income come to Italy. So I would say that there is a big restriction, and I wouldn't expect for American, for any foreign to get a loan here in Italy. Before I was representing some American clients to get a loan, I represented some wealthy client in the States. They show that they have a lot of asset, cash saved in the banks, and there was no way to get a loan here. No way, because the bank said that we want to see that this money come every month, so some income every year, and the client is able to pay our little loan, because the loan was very small, and this client was quite healthy in the States, but was impossible. And I did before, and I did later with other clients. We tried, and based on my experience, if clients want to really to do that, need to build some credit history 2 years in advance. So it's very long process. And sending wire money from the States every month, show that income coming every month, that you can pay, and you are so able to pay the loan. So.
Wow.
And it
So
almost sounds like it makes more sense to get the financing in the U.S., utilizing collateral in the U.S., and then go to Italy with cash. That seems like the best process.
I think so. I think so. I think so.
absolutely. And I mean, just out of curiosity, what kind of bank account, what kind of numbers is the Italian banks looking for to guarantee that sale?
What kind of numbers you mean?
Yeah, what kind of income are they looking for that so they would be, open or willing to lend the money for the mortgage?
For example, if the buyer would show to the bank that he gets at least 3,000 euro every month on this bank account, so as an income of 40,000 euro in 1 year, and he can prove with the tax return filed in the States, with the legalization of the Italian consulate, he can show to the bank that he has a stable job, permanent job, or he has a business, he owns a company, and he gets every year 40,000 euro. This would be enough to show that he's able to pay back the loan. And but this should be built at least for 2 years. So it's very complicated process. Maybe like Anthony suggested, if American buyer has a credit history in the U.S. bank, would be easier and convenient to take loan there and use the money to buy a property here. Because of another things which it is worth noting that right now the Italian market didn't go down with the COVID-19, but didn't grow up. It's very stable, but the people now is very open to sell. Before was very rigid, very straight. And so now if you have cash, you can make the best deal you ever did. You have never done. So.
Well, that's good to know. Antonello, we want to ask a little bit, a question came in from Mary van Valkenburg. She asked if you can detail the services provided by your firm. Specifically, can you handle all due diligence if the buyer is not in Italy during the whole process? And how do people get in contact with you?
So yes, we handle all the entire process since the research of the property, the due diligence regarding the legal and technical issues. In my team, there is a couple of architects which can inspect any technical things if we need, because usually in the condo, in the units, it's not necessary, but it's a single house or villa, it needs to do this kind of inspection. And we can handle this on behalf of the client, even if client is not here. But I guess the client at least one time once want to visit the property. But if the client would be able and would be available to buy property from the States, we can handle the entire process till the closing, including we can take care about the power of attorney in Italian consulate if they are Italian citizen. If they're not, they're just American, we can make another power of attorney in front of the American public notary, and then to put apostille in the power of attorney, and we can make all the follow taking the client to the closing. Yes, we can do this, and we can be in touch with now email and Zoom are helping a lot in this period of COVID time.
Absolutely. And I believe your contact information is on your website. So we will share the website with our viewers in the follow-up email when we send the recording. It's all in English. It's a very well done website. So should they have any questions and decide to start pursuing their dream of living La Dolce Vita, they can certainly get in contact with you.
Yeah, sure. Yes, I'm available for any questions the audience would have about this topic.
Right. Well, yes. We have about 99 right now. I know we're not going to get through all of them. So we have so many great questions. We just want to, so when Jennifer Ventresca asks, how would a buyer go about finding out if a property has any legal or court disputes on it? Would that be something that you would be able to investigate? Would that be in the public record?
Yes, as I said before, there are a couple of sources of information. There is a real estate public register, and then there is the court register is a kind of database for the litigation pending. And as an attorney, I would access to this kind of databases, and I can access to this kind of information and find out if there are any critical issues regarding the property. Yes.
Great. I am just going through. Sorry, I lost my train here. Sorry about that.
Take your time. It's amazing the questions that keep coming in so great, which is excellent.
Yes, it is. So sorry, I totally lost my train of thought here. I had a really good system going on. Oh, where is it? Okay, here it goes. Chris Cutrone. How difficult is it to get a vacation rental license for a property? And is it better to buy a house that also has a license?
Vacation license, do you mean to have the permit by the city hall to rent an Airbnb in booking, right?
Yes, correct.
So if you want to establish a bed and breakfast, a rental house for vacation, or small, we call the mini hotel, a small hotel, which means 12 rooms, there is some requirements by the region's law, which are more or less the same, and it's easy to get if your property matches some requirements. I make an example. The bedroom should be 14 square meters. Double bedroom should be 14 square meters. The single bedroom should be at least, as I remember, 9 or 10 square meters. If your rental will be rental home, you have to have living room, kitchen with the windows, and at least one bathrooms of 3.5 square meters. So if you match all these requirements and you apply with the help of technical guy, usually an architect, you show that your apartment has matched all these requirements, and it is compliance relating to the, for example, the electricity system, heater system, are compliance to the regulation, they will give the permit. And there are some condominium, they are trying to forbid this kind of things. But then the owner of the property fight at the Supreme Court of Italy decided to issue a famous judgment, which say that the condominium board of directors cannot forbid, come si dice,
forbid, yeah,
forbid to create a bed and breakfast, to establish a bed and breakfast or rental vacation house in that property. So there is quite big possibility comparing what, for example, happens in Manhattan, in Beverly Hills, or in Santa Monica, which I learned that the city hall doesn't allow to many of the buildings of the property to do this kind of business.
Wow. And so it's, you know, lot of regulations and bureaucracy to jump through. Stephanie Chimino asks, could you please tell me if there is an age restriction on getting a mortgage in Italy? For example, in France, it must be paid before the age of 70. So is there an age restriction in Italy?
Any restriction regarding the money gave by the bank? Regarding, so the question means if the buyer can get 100%, 90%, or 80%. Is this the right question?
Right. So if I understood correctly,
I think the question was when you have to pay it back. Is there any restriction? Right. Do you have to pay the mortgage back before you're 70? I think that may be a rule in France.
Yes, correct.
Okay, so there are several options. So you can make a loan that you have to pay back in 15 years, in 20 years, 25 years, even for the young people, even 30 years. And you can ask to the bank till 80% of the price. So you have to put a down payment of 20% of the price, and bank will give 80% of the price paid.
That's very similar here in the U.S. as well.
Okay, so so Lee Davis asks if you could elaborate a little bit more on a topic that you had mentioned earlier about fraud. Does that mean that there are properties out there on the internet that aren't really real properties? Can you just go further into how can one be absolutely certain that they're not dealing with a fraudulent property or fraudulent individuals for that matter?
Oh, this I heard that it can happen, especially when you are not here. That's why so I suggest, if there is possibility, to come here and visit the property. If you want to handle the matter and the process by yourself. I was in touch in the last 3 weeks with a guy from California. I can talk about the case because I don't say the name. And he already started to negotiate a house in south of Naples, and he makes some question. So he never been here. He didn't visit the property, and he just talking about to submit an offer without to hire an attorney, without to be here to visit in reality the property. And this is something which I suggest to avoid. So I think it can be some scam case. I just heard, but I never was involved in that. But of course, it's important to be in touch with someone trustworthy, with who you trust, or otherwise come here to Italy and check the property. This I would suggest would be the best way to do it.
Or probably the best way to do it is just to call you up and we can make sure that everything is kosher. And Antonello, just to reiterate, you do handle properties all throughout Italy, from northern Italy to southern Italy, correct? Not just in the Rome area.
Yeah, absolutely. From Milano till Amalfi Coast, including Sicily. Yeah, absolutely. When clients need, we go there together. But for the preliminary inspection, doesn't mean that I go there to check the property. We make the inspection in the public register, which I access from my phone, and then if we need technical inspection, we will go there with architects. So of course we can we can handle this kind of things from the north to Italy, yes, to south of Italy.
And, you know, just to wrap it up, just to, you know, Robert Moore just asked, you know, in addition to hiring a lawyer, can American buyers hire an advocate to help with the early stages of the property search, you know, to, you know, help them like check out properties in a certain area? Does Pierro Associati do this, or do you work with some real estate agents or some associations that help advocate for the help advocate in the preliminary search of the home buying process?
We do both because we help in the beginning to make a preliminary research in the database I suggested we spoke before, and I also have a network of realtors almost everywhere, which I can inquire if they have a property which match the requirements of the clients. We do both, depending the kind of property, the budget, locations. So we can try to help in both options.
Wonderful. This has been an extremely informative webinar. And just to reiterate to you, the viewers, that we will be sending a recording of this webinar, and along with the internet websites that Antonello has had suggested during this webinar, along with a few checklists and little, you know, nuggets of information to take along with you during this house buying process. So I'll toss it to Anthony to close us out. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabriella, and grazie mille, Antonello, for sharing your expertise on how to buy property in Italy. I thought it was amazing, and I learned a lot. Hopefully everyone in the audience learned a lot as well. And on behalf of the National Italian American Foundation, I'd like to thank you, the viewers, for joining us this afternoon. We hope you learned a lot. I know I did. As Gabriella just pointed out, this session was recorded, and the recording will be sent to you within the next 2 business days. Lastly, please don't forget to check out NIAF's 45th anniversary virtual gala on October 31st. It will be an exciting star-studded event where NIAF will honor Dr. Anthony Fauci with the Leonardo da Vinci Award for Leadership in Health and Science. For more information, please go to the website at www.niaf.org. Thank you again. Grazie. Thank you, Antonella. Thank you, Gabriella. Everyone have a great day, and thanks again.
Thank you, both of you. Thank you, all of you. Thank you to host me here, and I was very glad to be hosted and talk about this topic. It was a really pleasure for me. Thank you very much.
Yes, grazie mille e buona giornata a tutti. Ciao.
Grazie anche a voi.
Ciao.
Ciao.